What's good, y'all? It's your boy Havoc. Final round. Got a little film study, Fury versus Wilder 2. Let's check it out. So, completely different approach by Fury. Coming out, going to be more front foot oriented, putting pressure, cutting off the ring compared to the first fight, to where he was deciding to box off the back foot. Let's check it out. So, nice parry by Fury. Wilder decides to go the jab to the body. A lot of people saying Wilder needs to go to the body for the third fight. He kind of did for the second fight, but Fury did a good job of parrying those jabs down to the body by Wilder. Nice feint by Fury. And what those feints by Fury do, it keeps, those little head feints, they keep Wilder guessing of when Fury's gonna come in and attack, and it keeps Wilder off balance. Good jab to the body by Fury. Imagine a freaking 270-pound heavyweight jabbing you down to the body. It may not feel like that much, for Wilder, but what it does, it drains you slowly. And you saw just right there that Wilder tries to shoot his iconic 1-2, and Fury made a huge adjustment for the second fight. In the second fight, Fury decided, instead of ducking under that right hand like he did in the first fight, I'm gonna jump out of range, fence with both hands, create distance and space, and then roll with that right hand. And he's able to do that in the second fight because he's the ring general. Look right now, he's controlling the center of the ring. Look how much real estate he has behind him, as compared to the first fight, to where he was boxing off the back foot. He had little real estate to work with, and Wilder was pushing him back into the corner, into the ropes, and all he could do was just literally sit there when he got trapped into the corner of the ropes and try to duck under that right hand. And as a result, all Wilder had to do was come straight down the pipe with the 1-2, and he would clip Fury constantly. So huge adjustment by Fury, taking away the right hand of Wilder. That's what great boxers do. They take your best asset away, and what are you left with? If Fury mixing up the jab nicely and continuously feinting consistently, you don't even see lightweights do that. Going up and down stairs with the jab. And right now, Wilder's getting backed into the corner and the ropes. Let's see what he does. I hear a lot of people saying, well, Wilder can box off the back foot. He knocked out Ortiz on the back foot. Well, yeah, but that was a completely different fight, different stylistic matchup. And Ortiz wasn't pressing him the same way that Fury's doing. And look at Fury fencing with that lead hand, disrupting the rhythm, distracting Wilder with that lead hand and pawing with it. Nice little subtle technique by Fury. And once again, because Wilder or Fury's controlling the center of the ring, every time Wilder wants to launch an attack, all Fury has to do is clear the space and jump back out of range. Nice feint by Fury. Wilder tries to go to the jab, and Fury steps back out of range. Wilder's not used to fighting off the back foot constantly like this. And the mental pressure that Fury's putting on him right now is very exhausting. It's not just physically, it's mentally as well, because when you have to do that, you're constantly thinking, okay, what do I do here? How do I get out of this position? How do I time this hand? And he's constantly having to think, and that's not the way he fights. And beautiful combination by Fury, doubles up on the jab and follows up with the right hand, takes advantage that Wilder's off balance. He doesn't have a center of gravity. Poor fundamentals and technique by Wilder. It's exhausting fighting off the back foot. It's a lot easier to come forward and walk your opponent down in terms of cardio than having to constantly back up and fight strategically. Even a guy like Caleb Plant, who that's what he does, fights off the back foot, even he gets tired in the later rounds. You know what I'm saying? So imagine if you're not used to doing that and you're Wilder, and on top of that, you're a heavyweight, it's going to drain you. But Wilder's having to deal with so many different issues, man. So many different issues, attack to the body, jab to the body, look at right there, beautiful dirty boxing. I don't mean dirty by cheap, just grimy boxing. Every time they get in a clinch, Fury's going to wrestle around with Wilder, or if Wilder wants to duck under and clinch, Fury's going to wrap that underhook over his head, and he's going to put all his weight on the back of Wilder's neck and back, making him have to carry it. He might as well be squatting 300 pounds while he's boxing. And he has all these things just draining him of energy, completely draining him. You know, Fury wasn't just being a bully and brawling. He was pressure fighting. There's a difference between pressure fighting and brawling. Pressure fighting is very strategic and tactical. You know, you're fighting behind the jab, you're using feints, you're using subtle head movement, you got good footwork, you're cutting off the ring. You know, brawling's just kind of, you're trying to land one punch and you're taking 5 punches at the same time, you know, hoping to get lucky. And beautiful by Fury, comes with a 1-2. Wilder was in terrible positioning. He was off balance. He threw a lazy jab out there. Fury came over the top with the right hand and clipped him on the side of the head. A lot of people were saying that was a rabbit punch, and it wasn't a rabbit punch because Wilder decided to expose the left side of his head. You know, he turned into it. What do you want Fury to do? Pull his punch at the last second? That's not how it works, you guys. And beautiful by Fury, understanding, you know, trying to go for the kill. Doesn't get him out of there, but he sees that Wilder's kind of out of it, and he's exhausted and he's tired and he's stunned, so he puts all his weight on Wilder and throws him down to the canvas. And it might as well be a knockdown in a sense, because Wilder has to pick himself up off the canvas while he's already tired and stunned. That's very exhausting. Good little lead left hook by Fury, nice little check hook. Very exhausting to pick yourself up as a heavyweight off the canvas when you're tired. Look at Fury measuring the distance with the lead hand and then shooting down to the body. Beautiful. Measures the distance to find where he's at in space and then shoots down to the body. And every time Wilder wants to launch an attack, Fury jumps out of the reins, clears the distance, as opposed to just lowering his level in the first fight and trying to duck under everything. Nice feint by Fury. Constantly keeping Wilder guessing, constantly keeping him off balance and rhythm. And when Fury sees that he feints him and he gets off balance, that's when he jumps in with an attack. That's a great way to kind of get those flash knockdowns, when you catch your opponent off balance. And look at that feint. Look how Wilder reacts. He almost jumps back, and you know, that makes you tired too, because like, when is this guy coming in? When is he coming in with the attack? And you know, he's flinching, he's pulling back. It's that mental pressure. You have this guy in front of you constantly looking for the fight. And you see here, Wilder with his back to the ropes, not even really pivoting nicely. You know, all he really does is either he clinches, but if he clinches, he has to deal with the weight that he's going to be carrying from Fury, or he just kind of steps out to the left, which makes him very predictable. And all Wilder has to, or all Fury has to do, and beautiful pause right here, beautiful right here. Look at that underhook by Fury, putting all his weight on Wilder in the clinch, making him wrestle, ragdolling him around. Fury's able to get away from that right hand. Wilder's trying to get respect because he's very uncomfortable fighting this way. But yeah, Wilder doesn't have too many tools or techniques to find himself out of the corner in the ropes. He doesn't L-step. He doesn't pivot out. He doesn't time a good left hook. Like, go watch Mayweather versus Ricky Hatton, and the way Ricky Hatton's being very aggressive. He's trying to put pressure, and Mayweather has phenomenal ring awareness. He knows when he's getting close to the corner or the ropes, and every time Hatton comes in and launches his attack, Mayweather pivots out with the check hook and knocks Hatton down. Wilder, you don't see Wilder doing that. He doesn't have all these different tools in his arsenal to kind of work his way out of the corner of the ropes. A nice way for Fury to finish the end of the round. He ragdolls Wilder into a corner and throws all his weight on him, telling him, hey, take that with you back to the stool. Take all this 300 pounds with you. But, you know, if you're going to fight off the back foot, you have to give different looks. You can't be predictable. You have to know how to find your way out of those traps, because if you don't, you're going to have the bigger man in Tyson Fury closing the distance, making you engage, making you fight, making you get in the clinch and wrestle with him when he's significantly bigger than you. And then on top of that, Wilder came in bigger in this fight. You know, he's carrying more weight than he's usually used to. That's why I said, dude, do what got you to the dance. You know, you're knocking people out at 215, 220 while you putting on extra weight. That extra weight can slow you down. I think Wilder gets most of his punching power from the speed of his punches. A nice little wildly veteran move by Tyson Fury. He trips Wilder, once again understanding that Wilder's absolutely exhausted, and if he falls to the canvas, he's gonna have to pick himself back up. Beautiful body shots by Fury. Throws a left hook to the body, punishing Wilder exponentially. Right hook to the body. Ooh. Just draining him. He's literally taking him to the deep end and draining him. Follows up with a 1-2. And look how Wilder kind of walks back after the ref breaks it up. He kind of walks back towards Fury, and his guard is down, and he's not taking into consideration distance. And what Fury does, he sees that Wilder's walking back to them, and he's like, oh, you don't got your guard up, and you're just walking back into the range? Okay, I'm going to take advantage of this. Boom, boom. Comes with a 1-2, clips him with a right hand. Stuns him. Nice timing by Fury. And you can see how much Wilder's exposing the side of his head, because he's right here. You know, you can see he's exposing the left side of his head, and that's why he keeps getting clipped with those right hands. And now he's trapped in the corner with his back to the ropes, and he's getting punished. Fury's making him engage on the inside and fight, do some dirty boxing or fighting on the inside. And every time Wilder wants to get away, all he knows how to do is clinch and kind of duck under. Well, you do that, you got to pay a fee. You got to pay a toll with Fury. He's going to say, all right, you want to duck under there? I'm going to put that little, chicken wing on you, and then I'm going to put all this weight on your back. He's punishing him in every aspect of the fight, and that's why he's getting drained, absolutely drained. And Wilder's not an inside fighter. He's never had to be an inside fighter because he's just used to knocking motherfuckers out. He's never had to do all this different things. And look at him getting ragdolled right now. There's no substance behind what Wilder's doing. He's not setting anything up. There's nothing on that right hand he just threw. He's not creating openings. He's not setting traps. There's no substance behind what Wilder is doing. He's literally just in there being a punching bag. And this is what I'm trying to walk I know there's Wilder fans out there. I'm not being hard on the guy. I'm just speaking what I see from a boxing standpoint. Tell me what this guy's going to do in the third fight, and I don't see it. Now, maybe the adjustments he's making with Malik Scott, maybe he can pull something out of his ass, but man, you don't learn how to become a very tactical, back-footed fighter in 1 year. It's just not the way it works. If any athlete knows, it takes lots of time and repetition, and you need that time and repetition to ingrain those movements into your muscle memory to where they're second nature. Because if it's not second nature, you're going to go into that ring or whatever your realm of sport is, and you're going to be thinking about what you're doing. And you can't afford that. Every little millisecond counts. And beautiful hook to the body by Fury. And here's a little subtle technique that he just executed there. He did a little Fitzsimmons shift. And what's a Fitzsimmons shift? Well, a lot of pressure fighters utilize this technique to close the distance when they have an opponent who keeps on running back or pulling away from the fight. So what Tyson Fury did there, he was in the orthodox stance. He saw Wilder was pulling back, so he shifts to the southpaw stance to close the distance and create momentum in his attack. And essentially, by turning into the southpaw stance, his left hand now becomes his power hand. He shoots that left hook to the body, and it knocks Wilder down. On top of that, Wilder was not properly balanced. He was pulling back irresponsibly, and it was kind of like a flash knockdown mixed in with nice technique by Fury. Wilder even said it himself. All he has to do is be perfect for 2 seconds. But, that goes out the window when you start facing a boxer who's just as talented as you and knows how to fight, and he's a dog in there, and he's got skills. Fury is the trifecta. Talented, skilled, and he's a dog in there. He's a fighter at the end of the day. I don't see how Wilder is going to be able to make the proper adjustments. And even if he does, this is another thing y'all not thinking about. Fury can still make adjustments in real time. Even if Wilder does change up the game plan, he comes out looking like Sugar Ray Leonard, that doesn't mean necessarily he's going to win the fight, because Fury can still box. You know, you saw him fight completely different from the first fight, you know, sticking and moving, sticking and moving. The second fight, now he's a pressure fighter. This guy, if he wants to, he can come in the third fight, and if he needs to make an adjustment, he can do it all. He can fight with his back to the ropes in the corner. He can fight in the center of the ring. He can put pressure. He can fight off the back foot. You know, he can, you know, dog you in the corner like he's doing Wilder right now. What can he do? He has all the tools in his arsenal. But, you know, we're going to see the fight. At the end of the day, that's why we watch the fights. You never know. You never know what a guy, you know, what type of heart and determination he has and the things he's willing to do to become a better fighter. So we just never know. But from purely speaking from a boxing standpoint, I just don't see what Wilder can do to change the dynamics of the third fight. You know, once again, I heard a lot of people saying, oh, well, he needs to go down to the body. He tried. He tried going down to the body. Now, can he be more consistent? Sure. Can he shoot that right cross a little bit more? Sure. But he's going to need some other skills and techniques to be able to get away with doing that and being consistent. You know, he never established his jab in this fight. And when you don't establish your jab, you're fighting blind. You're essentially fighting blind. You don't understand distance and timing. So what good are you? What good is it to attempt to shoot down to the body with your jab and your cross if you don't have any sort of understanding of timing and distance because you never established your jab? And you know, you don't have to just shoot that jab to the head. You know, shoot it at the shoulders. You know, touch up the gloves. You know, utilize some feints. Do all different types of things. And you know, tell me what Wilder's doing that's very technical here. Tell me what you see in his game as a Wilder fan that is strategic. You know, show me the subtleties. You know, I don't see feints. I don't see a consistent jab. I don't even see him throwing left hooks. He threw like one left hook and it was just sloppy. This is just truth, you guys. I'm just walking you through what I see from a technical perspective of boxing, not from an emotional standpoint or a fanboy standpoint. You know, I'm not really a fan. I'm a fan of Fury because he's a good boxer, and I'm a fan of any boxer who's good at what they do. But I'm not really per se a fan of Fury or Wilder. So I have no dog in this fight. I'm just assessing it from an honest perspective. Once again, Wilder getting back to the corner ropes. He doesn't really have anywhere to go. Fury throwing a right hook to the body. This is just, it's hard to watch. This fight is over, you guys. Even if I didn't know how the end of the fight went, it would be, I would feel very confident and say, oh, this fight is over. Like, there's nothing this guy can do. There's no punch he can land. It's absolutely over. And, you know, Mark Breland should have gotten an extra check or a thank you, not get treated like shit the way he did, because he literally saved this man's life. And I'll get into that after the fight. Or at least saved him from more brain damage or becoming a vegetable or saving years at the back end of his life. Mark Breland was a boxer himself, you know, a professional fighter himself and an Olympian. So, you know, he knows what he's doing. Nice jab to the body by Fury. You know, that's the thing. Fury's taking all these different techniques and tactics and just pouring it on to Wilder and just draining him. Jabs to the body, hooks to the body, constant pressure, making him fight off the back foot, mental pressure, you know, wrestling with him in the clinch, putting all his weight on him. Now you know why this guy was so exhausted. You know, the first fight, you got to understand, the first fight, Fury didn't do any of that. He wanted to just box off the back foot. Another right hook to the body, follows up with combinations, punishes them with the back to the ropes. That's what a pressure fighter wants to do. They want to get your back to the ropes or the corner, and they want to make you engage and make you fight because they know that's where you don't want to be. And Wilder's really going to have to figure out how to maneuver himself out of those positions when he gets trapped. And it takes a lot of ring awareness to be able to do that. I don't know if you're just going to pick that up. You could do it on the mitts. It looks great. But when you got this motherfucker across from you, and I think this is the end of the fight. Yeah, end of the fight. Towel gets thrown in. You know, Mark Breland did the right thing. He's a fighter himself. He understands. I know that Deontay Wilder wanted to go out on the shield, and he did go out on the shield. He did, you guys. You know, so I respect him for that. You know, I'm just so disappointed in the excuses that followed afterward. You got to understand, Mark Breland has to look at that man's family at the end of the day. And if he dies in there or becomes a vegetable, or at the back end of his life, he's you know, got CTE and, you know, slurring his speech, Mark Breland has to look at Deontay Wilder's family and answer for that. And especially if something bad happened in the ring that night. Because what y'all don't understand is, like, people tend to think like one punch knockouts. I mean, getting hit in the head is not good at all, right? But people tend to think like one punch knockouts are the most devastating thing that can happen to a fighter. You know, when fighters die in the ring, or they become vegetables and brain dead, or whatever the case may be, it's usually a result of they're in a fight, they're absolutely exhausted and tired, and they're taking constant punishment. They're getting bopped upside the head. There's not one shot that's just ending the fight. And, you know, when you're just constantly getting hit upside the head, and you're absolutely exhausted, that's when that, you know, your brain starts swelling. And it can get very ugly. That dude, Mark Breland, literally saved this man's life. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not over-exaggerating. He did the right thing. You know, because what happens if he did end up a vegetable? What happens if he did die in the ring? What happens, you know, if maybe he never recovered? You know, Mark Breland has to look at his freaking family and say, you know what? I wanted him to go out on a shield. You know, that's nice to say, but, you know, that's not going to make sense to the people who love Deontay Wilder and want him, you know, that's not going to make sense to them. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you know what you sign up for there, but nobody asked to die. And if they don't have to die, why? You know, for what? What, pride? Why did Wilder need to go on in that fight anymore? And, you know, he did the, you know, I respect Wilder for continuing the fight, but Mark Breland needed to save his fighter, needed to get him out there, needed to save him from himself. And he did the absolute right thing. I don't care what anybody says. You can say he spiked his drink and he was corrupt. I mean, if that was the case, he would have let the fight continue. But, you know, Mark Breland did the right thing. Point blank, period. There's no argument or discussion about that. And, you know, also saved his career. You know, and here's the scary thing. Those beatings like that, once again, when you don't just get knocked out clean with one punch, those beatings are usually the fights that take something away from a fighter. Like you watch the Julio Cesar Chavez fight with Meldrick Taylor. Meldrick Taylor, he just took a lot of punishment in that fight. He took a lot of punishment, even though he was winning. And I thought it was fucked up how, now that's different, right? He got to the 12th round, he got knocked down. There was only like 10 seconds to go. All he had to do was stand up and the fight would have been over and he would have won on the score. Well, who knows how they would have scored it, but he would have won on the scorecards in everybody's opinion. That's different. You know, he was in that fight. Meldrick Taylor was in that fight and he was winning. And there was only 12 seconds left to go. And that was an earlier time in boxing where it was a little bit more riskier. But there was nothing that Deontay Wilder was doing to show that he was still in the fight. And yeah, I know a lot of people are saying, well, he got the right hand. You know, he can always land the right hand in 2 seconds. That's all I need to be Dude, there was no right hand that was going to bother Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury actually ate a right hand in that fight. I didn't point it out, but completely ate a right hand in that fight from Deontay Wilder, and it did not bother him. It did not shake him, because there was absolutely nothing left in the gas tank for Deontay Wilder. There was nothing left to fight for. There was no hope in that fight for Wilder. And that's when a trainer needs to step in and save his fighter from himself. Once again, I respect Wilder for going out on the shield, but to then throw his trainer under the bus when he saved his ass. and saved him from the humiliation. Because if that fight kept going on, you guys, I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how tough you are. There would have been a point where Wilder's like, fuck, like I'm done here. I got nothing left, but I have to keep fighting. And he may have bowed down himself at a certain point if that fight kept going. Maybe not. Maybe he would have literally died out on a shield. But, this is not something worth dying for. And that's why you have your trainer there, to kind of save you from yourself, save you from humiliation. There was nothing left to fight for. There was no way Wilder was going to come back in any shape or form. There wasn't going to be a big right hand that changed the fight. I mean, is it possible? Maybe, but the percentages were very low. The risk wasn't worth the reward. That's the best way to put it. The punishment he was going to have to take to get an opportunity to land a big right hand would have been not even worth it. Not even worth it. But yeah, I just laid it out for you guys. Once again, there's no hate here. I'm not against Deontay Wilder. I'm just assessing what I see from a pure boxing standpoint. I just don't see what Wilder's going to do in between, a training camp for a year or two to become, Sugar Ray Leonard. And does he need to become Sugar Ray Leonard? Not particularly, but once again, those tactics and techniques, as a back-footed fighter, first of all, you have to be in phenomenal shape. And once again, I said it earlier, even if you are in phenomenal shape, it's still very exhausting. Like I said, go look at Caleb Plant. He tends to fade at the end of some fights, and this is what he does. He's a back-footed fighter. That's his style. He still gets tired. Wilder's not used to that. He's not used to doing it. He's never had to do that consistently. Okay, at certain periods in the fight, he might back up and time a right hand, but he's not constantly having to do that throughout his resume. When you get trapped to the corner of the ropes, you have to have the ring awareness. Okay, I'm getting close to the ropes, the corner. Okay, I need to feint my way out, create a little distance. Maybe I need to throw suppressive fire to get respect from my opponent. And so I can, L-step out or pivot out. I need to time a check hook as I'm pivoting while my opponent's coming at me. There's so many subtleties to fighting that way. I just don't know if he can pick that up in time. And even if he can, once again, Fury's going to be able to change up in the middle of the fight. I think Deontay Wilder, we're going to figure out if he's at least an Anthony Joshua, right? Like, Anthony Joshua is not a sophisticated 12-round fighter, point blank, period. But he did show that he can make an adjustment, right? From the first Ruiz fight to the second Ruiz fight. Anthony Joshua realized, like, I can't engage with this guy. His counterpunching's better. He's got good speed and power. I can't engage with him. I have to box off the back foot, slim down so I can make it out of 12 rounds and just pick him apart. And he showed he can do that. But then he gets in a fight with Usyk, and Usyk's a completely different ball game and a phenomenal boxer, phenomenal 12-round fighter who can constantly make subtle little adjustments. And Anthony Joshua he couldn't make any adjustments. He came in with the game plan, and he had to stick to that game plan because he doesn't have that ability to switch it up in the middle of the fight. He just doesn't. And even if Deontay Wilder does show, like, okay, he can make adjustments, he can fight off the back foot, what happens when Fury decides, okay, let me go back to my tool shed. Let me pull something different out and see if it works. Because that's the thing with Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is one way of fighting. He's a pressure fighter. He's going to cut off the ring, and he's going to look for the fight. He's not going to be able to make adjustments. Anthony Joshua made the adjustment, and he was able to stifle Andy Ruiz. But Andy Ruiz can't go back to the tool shed and be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to box off the back foot, or I'm going to, do something from mid-range, stay in the center of the ring and work. He doesn't have all those tools. So my argument is the reason why I can't pick Deontay Wilder for this fight, even if he does make an adjustment and he looks good doing it, Fury will always have the ability to constantly change the way he can fight throughout 12 rounds in the immediate fight. He won't need to go back to the training camp and, go through another training camp to figure out what he needs to do. I mean, you think about this. 12th round of the first fight, both fighters are probably dead dog tired. He gets flatlined. He gets back up. He outboxes Wilder in the 12th round after he gets knocked down and flatlined. And then he figures out, hold up, I'm going to bring the fight to him. He's not comfortable. He's not comfortable when I press him. Oh, his power's not the same when he constantly has to be pressed backward. He figured that out in the 12th round when he just got knocked down and he was absolutely exhausted. Fury figured that out, was able to make that little adjustment, and then he brought that into the second fight. That's scary. If you're Wilder, that's terrifying. So, yeah, there's just so many tools in Fury's arsenal. And it wasn't just like he was just being a bully and he was just brawling. You know, once again, brawling and pressure fighting are two different things. Brawling is just, I'm going to stalk my opponent in circles. I'm going to take 5 shots upside the head from him in hopes to land one big shot. Pressure fighting is tactical. You know, it's cutting off the ring. It's fighting behind your jab. It's feinting your way in. You know, it's subtle little defensive moves. You know, it's not flashy like Pernell Whitaker or, you know, footwork like Muhammad Ali, but good footwork. You know, there's lots of things. I'm going to attack the body consistently. You know, I'm going to counterpunch coming forward. It's a skill set. So the way Fury, you know, was able to skin the cat, it wasn't because he was just being big. You know, he was able to highlight his size by being tactical. So, yeah, tell me what you guys think. Comment below, like the video. If you're a new subscriber, let everybody know so we can get more people joining the family. If there's a fight you want me to analyze or something to talk about, comment down below about it and let me know, and I'll try to find some footage of it so I can do some film study. It's kind of hard to find some films out there because they all tend to get copyrighted. I know this wasn't the best footage, but we have to work with what we got. And yeah, this is a new channel, you guys. I'm trying to build it up. Join the family. New up-and-coming boxer here in Los Angeles, California, getting ready to do big things. I'm very excited for this third fight, and I hope, you know, whatever happens, we get something good, because I do believe boxing is coming back. The heavyweight division's back, and the landscape's changing. It's going to be very exciting. Very exciting. Usyk made a lot of noise the other week. So, yeah, this is your boy Havoc with Final Round. Get at me.